When it comes to the first Avatar film, it was a smash hit for worldwide audiences, and now 13 years later we have a sequel. In 2009, that original film had a colossal impact on modern cinema in terms of it being technically breathtaking as well as its use of 3D. And it was so good in fact that some fans actually suffered with post-Avatar depression because they had to leave the lovely world of Pandora and come back to the harsh grey reality of Earth. And it pleases me to say that Avatar The Way of Water continues in that same fashion because it was visually stunning. Especially in the water where we get to see fantastic creatures and the sun glistening through, it really was an immersive experience. So yeah, all the boxes are ticked in that department, but this isn't a David Attenborough documentary, this is a film, so how does the rest hold up? Plot wise, I think there's a lot left to be desired here. Director James Cameron decided that he wasn't ready to say goodbye to certain cast members from the original film and instead has brought them back for the sequel, but how he got them into the story was pretty shoddily done. And I do want to talk specifically about this as well as a few other things, so we'll do a spoiler section at the end of the video. As the film moves on, you can see that it does share quite a lot of similarities with its predecessor, especially in terms of its overall structure. Whereas before we were exploring trees, now we're exploring the water, and we also get introduced to a whole new Na'vi clan called the Metkayina. Compared to the mainland Na'vi, they are more turquoise in colour and have blue eyes instead of yellow eyes, but they are alike in the fact that they do share a bond with creatures in their environment. And one of the creatures which has a major role in the film are the Tolkens, which are like a whale-like creature. One of Jake and Neytiri's sons does get to spend a lot of time with one of these Tolkens, and he probably gets the most time out of the whole Sully family actually in the film to get some development in. And he is one of four when it comes to Jake and Neytiri's children, so they've clearly been busy since we last saw them.
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
There is also a human character called Spider who gets into the mix, but I'll talk about him a bit more in the spoiler section. So with that all being said, one of the core themes of the film is family.
You don't turn your back on family.
And to be honest, I wouldn't have been surprised to see Vin Diesel appear in this film because the story never got me emotionally engaged to a state where when it gets to the action scenes, I'm actually feeling any weight there. So they were very much just popcorn action scenes you'd see in a Fast and Furious film. With this film, they do focus more on Jake and Neytiri's children than they do the couple themselves. I mean, Neytiri actually gets sidelined a little bit throughout the film, but it's clear that they do have an eye on the sequels, for better or worse. Like in the first film, The Way of Water does have an environmental message, and it's very easy to see here, and I just wish it was a little bit better entwined in the plot because it does stand out quite a bit as that message instead of actually being part of the general flow of things. Overall, I know many people thought the first Avatar film was a masterpiece, so if that's you, I think there's a good chance you'll enjoy this. Both films have basic plots, but in that original film, if it needed to, it could fall back on the Jake and Neytiri romance, whereas here, with the family aspect, it doesn't catch the fall. And as much as I enjoyed being back in Pandora, I was just hoping for more. Because the characters can say things like I see you as much as they like, and James Cameron can flash a fancy fish in my face to distract me from the plot as much as he likes. The whole point is that I wanted a film that was emotionally charging as well as visually charging. And unfortunately I only got one. Now we've hit the time where we're about to go into some spoilers, so if you are bowing out now, thank you for watching and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now the first thing I want to discuss on the spoiler talk is the return of Colonel Quaritch. Now don't get me wrong, it's always great to see Stephen Lang in things, but I just don't think his character should have returned here because the character was so against the Na'vi. I just couldn't believe when they said that they had a precaution set up, like a safety net in case they died where he'd come back as an avatar. I just don't understand how that makes any sense because he's a character who is so full of himself and so sure that he would get the win. Why he would want a safety net like that in place, it makes no sense. But as I said in the non-spoiler part, I just think Cameron didn't want to let go of Stephen Lang and also Sigourney Weaver because she's still in the film as a teenager now, and I think with what they did in the film with her character, that's going to be one where it just sort of plays all across the next 4 or 5 films, or how many they do. I think that's just something which will be a continuous theme they sort of touch on in each film and then never really revealed until the very end. Back to Colonel Quaritch though, and with the inclusion of him as well as his son Spider, we have that father and son relationship there as well as with Jake and his sons. And so you can see what Cameron was focusing on even if the execution wasn't so great. But with Spider, he was a total flip-flop of a character. He saw his dad do something cool and suddenly he's the best thing ever. Next time he sees him doing something bad and now he's total evil. And towards the end of the film we see Quaritch spare his son's life, which was still quite tough to believe, to be honest. I'm guessing in the third film they'll probably go into how he met Spider's mother and all that sort of thing, maybe in the first film, because there's obviously some sort of sex spy happening because he got her knocked up and then we see Sigourney Weaver got pregnant as well. So what the hell happened? Now earlier on we were speaking about Jake's youngest son who had most of the screen time out of that whole family. Him with the bonding session with the Tolkien was quite sweet, but it did go on for quite a while. And of course it's another symmetry thing here where we have an outcast meeting an outcast. And at the start of the film, when Jake and Neytiri are introducing their family, they mentioned they had 2 sons, and I thought to myself, why they're 2 sons? They're probably going to kill one off, and they did kill one off in the older son, and it just didn't really hit me at all emotionally. I mean, I don't think that character really had enough time to really, show his bond maybe with his dad, and maybe they could have some more scenes there, maybe some more with Neytiri as well. I just think they needed more. I mean, Cameron said there's a 9-hour cut out there somewhere. Maybe a lot of those scenes were in that cut. Like, I showed more emotion when I saw the bloody Tolkien get killed when I did seeing the son die. I know that a lot of that comes down to seeing animals being harmed. I don't like seeing animals being harmed, but it still says quite a bit. Now, just sticking with the Tolkien, the stuff they extract from it is some sort of immortality juice, which, becomes a little bit redundant when they've all got clones and that, but they did make it clear that it can be sold for a lot of money. So maybe they'll come back and try and harvest more. We'll have to wait and see. Also, those human characters who involved the whaling, they felt so out of place, but they did do something which was interesting, and that is they did make the film not take itself as seriously as it has throughout the rest of the film. Like when the guy's arm gets chopped off, I mean, that kill was very funny to watch, and it worked because the film wasn't taking itself seriously in that moment, whereas throughout the rest of the runtime it really does take itself seriously, but not really do anything with it. And I think that's why that moment worked so well, because they weren't teetering on the edge here, they were actually taking a plunge for once. Now, there were some good action moments towards the end of the film, but I just never cared enough where I was going to feel that tension and feel really gripped into the scene. So it's just a shame that the storytelling couldn't be as innovative as the technical side of things. Even though this film has quite a few issues with it, I'm still looking forward to see what they do with the 3rd film, because I just like being in Pandora, and if they can get it right, then it'll be amazing. I'm still very fresh from seeing the film, so there might be some more things spoiler-wise which come up, which I can talk about in the comments possibly, so let me know your thoughts down there. And if you're looking for something else to watch on screen right now, as I review for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.